Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today it seems like we have our first big reveal to the new patch coming to Broken Arrow. Seems like the release for this patch is going to be sometime next week. And I thought it'd be cool to kind of run through this together, see what they've addressed, see what they still could look into, hopefully with a future patch. But hopefully we have some juicy bits of info here. Let's go through it. So they kind of start off with basically saying, hey, our launch for the game was successful and we're pretty happy about it. I definitely agree. I think as RTS games as a whole, we're all very happy to see a game that does have a lot of success kind of coming out of the gate, and we can hopefully expect to see more support for the game down the line. I don't know what they were projecting or what they viewed as their milestones, but they say here at the very beginning that Broken Arrow launched last week and it has been a tremendous success. Hundreds of thousands of copies sold. Again, yay for the RTS genre. And they were able to keep a consistent player count, over 10,000 the whole time. So there looks like there's 4 major features that they're wanting to implement in this next patch. They say it's a big one. And they start off with they're trying to address a lack of save game feature mid mission, problem with people leaving mid game in multiplayer, the anti cheat system, and some issues with being able to connect and stability in a match. So I don't know about you guys. Unfortunately, I have had a cheater in my game before, only one time, but I was able to report him. There is a report tool in the top right-hand corner of each game, so you can report a cheater directly in your lobby. You just click on the report icon. I believe it's a flag, and then there's an icon next to the player that you suspect is cheating. You just click that, write a little description, and send it off. So the other thing I think that is a unfortunate problem with RTS games in general is people hate losing, right? And in the RTS game, you feel the loss a lot more. And when there's no incentive to stay, I mean, it kind of reminds me back in the day of like a MOBA, right? When you have this half hour to hour long game and you have just a really crappy start. Well, a lot of times you're like, can I just hit that reset button? And if there's no incentive to stay or no penalty for leaving, people are going to have a quick reaction to just want to quit out. But the unfortunate part about that is when you have a lot of people leaving, well, then your matches kind of suck. And I'm sure all of us have experienced that together where we get into a game. We might have a good opener. We might have, a good time right in the first few minutes. But then we have a leaver in our team, and that'll snowball to 2 people leaving, 3 people leaving. So it seems like they want to address that somehow. Anti-cheat. Save game missions. So I do know some of the single-player missions can be long. And I do think it is a great feature for them to add a save in the middle of that. Just because, hey, if we have an interruption, if something happens, we want to be able to save and come back and not just have to start the whole thing over again. That does feel like a little, I don't know, 2000. Like, I think even back then, games you could save in the middle of a mission. So, yeah, this is a little weird that they don't have it in the game. And then just generally being able to stay connected to a match and stability there. So that's what they said they're keeping their eyes on. Now let's see what is coming up with update 1.08. Right? So this guy says he sat down with the developers. So I'm guessing this is maybe the publisher who's sitting down with the devs and putting this together. They're again talking that it's going to be a big one. So they do want to improve stability, fix to a significant problem related to memory consumption. Now I will say that when I first kind of started playing the game, I cranked the graphics all the way up to high just to kind of see if my computer could handle it. And yeah, there were definitely some maps that would just tank my frame rates. So I ended up dropping them down pretty low, and I'm kind of creeping them back up as I'm going along to just find out what is the balance of performance and visuals, right? So hopefully they address that a little better. Reconnect fixes and improvements. Now, guys, if you've ever had a disconnect from a game and you're booted back to the menu, that reconnect option sometimes doesn't show up in the upper corner of the screen. What you can do as a temporary fix, if you want to be able to get that reconnect to your game popping back up, you have to restart your client. Not the best solution, and I'm hoping that they're trying to address this here. But really, we're hopeful for having that reconnect option more reliably showing up right away without having to do a whole restart of your client. So I hope that's what they're talking about here. And an update to the anti-cheat system goes without saying. Obviously, not too happy to ever see cheaters in a match. And then this one's actually really cool. So the fifth point here, the possibility to choose between a small or large layout for the maps has been added for custom matches, and skirmish for players looking for smaller matches than 5v5. The game will automatically select the layout corresponding to the number of players plus AI, but you can also force one layout or the other. I am super happy about this because, as you know, I host tournaments twice a week, Tuesdays and Saturdays. I hope you guys join our Discord and be a part of those. They're super fun games, all in-house. We, have a great time. We talk about our strategies. You can collaborate with your teammates and really just build those bonds, of playing with people that you enjoy. Because guess what? When you're in a group of people on Discord, you're never going to have a leaver, right? Unless someone's power goes out or their baby wakes up. We've had that happen. But for the most part, you're not going to get rage quitters, right, in the Discord. So I like this because right now our map pool, if we're doing a 3v3, is pretty small. There are not a lot of maps that would accommodate a 3v3 or 4v4 very well. So the option to shrink a map down to a smaller size would be great, because then we could use all of those maps for our tournament. So I'm personally very excited about that. And then they're talking about a tower defense mode that was present during the beta is back and has been improved. I have no idea what that is. I'm guessing that it's that fight that you have like this one A point and you just have to like kind of defend it. And then of course you can go cap the other points on the map. But if I had to guess, it's probably just that map. So we'll see, I guess, what is. So really, that's the bulk of the patch, right? They're trying to work on the performance of the game, the reconnect option, anti-cheat, and then this option for the map layouts. So although they're saying it's a big one, I guess that could be up to you, whether those changes are big changes to you or not. I'm personally really looking for a spectator mode and the replay feature. I am really excited about those two things. And then they talk a little bit about what's coming up after that. So we will continue to work on fixing our major issues, overall improvements of the game client, server-side software. So the lack of penalty for players who leave during a multiplayer match. Now, I know I didn't just dream this in some pipe dream. When I was looking at the game pre-launch, I was pretty obsessed and just like covered all the different news and information that was coming out about it. They had mentioned that their plan for launch was to have a leaver penalty where if somebody left a match, they would get a leaver penalty, and it would be this increasing kind of hit to their ability to matchmake again, which is what they're talking about here, right? We're going to introduce a timeout system that will penalize leavers with progressively longer timeouts. This is what they said they were going to do before the game launched, but I'm guessing maybe because they were afraid that they didn't want people who had a disconnect, right? Not to their own fault. They got a disconnect and a deserter penalty that now all of a sudden they're getting punished for that. I could see that ending up, being a review bombing on Steam. So they probably left that out and they're just holding on to it. And I'm guessing they're rolling it out now that they're more confident about the stability of the game, or they're rolling it out with a stability patch. Also, the surrender option. Personally, I have made out of the 80 or 70 games I've played, there have maybe been 3 or 4 where I felt like a surrender button would have helped. But that's maximum. Honestly, now that I'm really thinking about it, there's probably been one game where I felt like a surrender option would have been worthwhile because we were just completely overrun, and we were going into phase 3 and we're like, yeah, there's no chance. This is going to be, just a total, just a slugfest, slaughterfest, just us getting destroyed. But I guess it would be cool just for pub matches. Again, it'll kind of discourage people from leaving because they know that, well, I have this ability to surrender. Cool. And then for save games, they're talking about implementing it may be complex. So that's really the patch. Now, one other thing I want to talk to you guys today about is this handy dandy little website that I found called BAHub.net. Now, if you saw the first video I made on Broken Arrow, basically going over, this is the difference between love and hate of this game, where I kind of do a little bit of a deck profile and I talk about, the deck building in this game is going to be what makes you love it or hate it. This is, I guess, the continuation of that website. And guys, I really want to say, just look, from me to you, like gamer to gamer, please don't buy into the whole like this one build is the only way to play the game type of nonsense, because it really is. And trust me, I know these content creators. I have been watching them since the beta. They are smart guys and they understand core mechanics and fundamentals of the game. I will never take that away from them. I learned a lot from those guys on tank micro, infantry micro, situational awareness. I learned all those things from those guys. But that's where that knowledge point ends, right? Every map, every opponent, every teammate that you have creates a completely different game. I mean, the nice thing is these maps are so big and the battlefields are so spread out and the variety is so vast, right? There are so many variables in the game that there is no cookie cutter, one shoe fits all build or deck. So please, I know if you're watching my content, you probably already agree with that, but just in case there was this little voice in the back of your head that was like, nah, man, this is the only way you play the game. You build this deck, you get this unit, you do this thing, and you win every time. Don't do that, because what that's going to do is it's going to make you think, well, then that's the truth. And then if you get into a game and it ends up not working, well, then you just feel discouraged, right? And like you just don't even want to play it. And I think there's a really awesome game here, right? So I really believe, look, play the game, build different decks, try different things out. That's kind of what my whole channel is about, right? I want to try to open up these different ideas and talk through them so you can see all the possibilities and potential that every deck can have. I mean, I just went from playing like Armored Striker, a very heavy ground deck, and I went back to do the kind of tips and tricks guide video for USMC and Spec Ops, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to relearn how to play this deck, because it had only been maybe 25 games since I played it, but it literally felt like a different game, and I think that's super cool. So I wouldn't sleep on, the experimentation. So anyway, that little side tangent / rant out of the way, I did want to really talk about BA Hub. Now, one of the cool things about BA Hub is that you can do player lookup, right? And I think one of the nice things about having this player lookup feature is that you can kind of check your own stats, right? And I think that's one of the kind of cool things about it. Is so if you go to your Steam page, right, you're going to it's going to ask you to look up like your profile, and you're basically going to want to enter your Steam ID in here, search for it, right? And then here's, and then your profile is going to come up. So when you search your profile right here, it's kind of giving you a score, like your score for your playstyle, right? And kind of what that all means. Right? So, again, I've also heard people saying ELO is a lie and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, whatever. Who cares about ELO? This is kind of where you want to be tracking your progression as a player, right? And I love that this team has made this website, because it really does give you an overview of how you play the game and kind of where your proficiencies are, right? So you have win rate, combat efficiency, like how well are you trading, kills per minute. I guess this is more of like how aggressive are you? Like, are you really idle in your games? Are you just not accomplishing much or not, right? So your kill death ratios, how efficient are you being with your units? Objectives per match. Are you really passive? Again, I've seen some content creators out there that they're like objectives per match are basically nothing because they're just trying to farm kills. And cool. I mean, that is a win con for the game. And then, of course, supply efficiency. I kind of wish I knew what supply efficiency meant. Does this mean I'm just using up 90% of my supplies, or am I not letting them get blown up? I don't really know. But the fact that there are all of these different types of metrics here that rates your play, I think is a great way for you to understand, how am I doing? Because I don't think ELO is the end all be all answer to your skill level, right? It's that your ELO is more of a combination of who are you playing with, how well are you playing as a team, how are you doing in the overall grand scheme of Broken Arrow. But this is going to give you a little bit more of a granular detail. And as you guys might know, I am all about the granular details. And then there's other things to consider here too, right? Like, what are the most popular maps in the game? Honestly, there are maps here that I just never pull. So if we look at these maps, like Frontiers and Village, I don't even think I've pulled these maps before. I guess these are just my map statistics. But yeah, I very rarely ever see these maps being played. And again, there's 19 maps, and they're not even all on here. So I think this is a cool site. Like I said, just one of the features is looking up player stats. But again, I think there's a lot more to it than just that. You still have the arsenal. You have the deck builder. Of course, you can go in game. But if you're not at home, if you're not in front of your computer, you can, or if you're not in front of your main PC, you can look up a deck builder. You can check out the maps. I think this map tool, depending on how detailed and how good it actually is, I guess I have to pick a map. Let's oil refinery, start session. Can we get a map? Can we get a map? Weird. Okay, so wow, it just took a long time to load. So there's a map tool here. I'm sure there could be some kind of benefit to this. Yeah, it looks like it basically loads in the whole map. And if we're looking at oil refinery, yeah, it's just here. Maybe this is still kind of in beta. The map part of it. Tournaments. Opening league tournament. Wow, cool. Okay. Well, hey, what about us, right? We got a tournament going. But maybe, again, this is kind of a cool place to look at the tournaments. So then, of course, there's leaderboards. Anyway, just wanted to share this website with you guys. Thought it might be a cool way for you to kind of engage with the meta of the game kind of for yourself. How am I doing? And then have the arsenal and the deck builder, which I showed off in that first video. So just kind of an overview. Again, I hope you guys enjoy and join us on the Discord. Join us for our tournaments that we host every week. And kind of let me know, what content you'd like to see moving forward. As you guys probably know, again, I'm really big on the deck deep dives. I do, a video of my first impression of a deck, just kind of getting it started. And then I play 10 matches. I, put a deep dive together. And then I kind of show you, hey, this is me and, what is my final form before I move on to the next deck. If there's something else you guys would like to see, please let me know. I occasionally create a short that highlights a specific game mechanic that I think is important. But again, I'm doing this for you guys to enjoy it. So thank you so much for being here. Love you all, and I'll catch you in the next video.